Good morning, welcome to CATEX TV. My name is Frank Fortunato. Today is Thursday, April 17th, 2014. The details of the insurance coverage for the sunken South Korean ferry have begun to come in addition to the fact that some nearly 300 people remain unaccounted for and are presumed drowned. It seems as if the marine market is bracing for a loss of about $140 million. According to the Insurance Insider, London market carriers are expected to be on the hook for about 90% of a $100 million passenger liability coverage. That policy was originally written by a South Korean company called the Korean Ship Association. It was a protection and indemnity club, which means it was a non-profit. It was then subsequently filtered out to the global retrocession industry, which includes the Lloyd's syndicates, of course. The retrocession placements were co-brokered by Aon, Marsh, and Willis, the big three. Each passenger is covered for up to $337,000 under the passenger liability policy. Korean Shipping Association is also understood to have a 36% line on the ship's hull policy, the actual physical damage, which is a little bit under 11 million US. That, by the pictures, looks to be a completely total loss. The remaining 64% is underwritten by a major South Korean carrier called Meritz Fire and Marine. The original policy was brokered by Willis in Singapore, and the ship was built in Japan in 1994. Well, President Putin in Moscow had his annual press event in which he takes questions. During the event, which was also marked by a video phone-in from none other than Edward Snowden, asking President Putin about Russian surveillance tactics. The other noteworthy comment was Putin's remarks about the Ukraine. He said he hoped not to send Russian troops into the Ukraine, but didn't rule it out, accusing the Kiev government of committing a serious crime by using their own military to quell unrest in their own country. His comment followed a clash overnight which left 3 pro-Russian protesters dead and 13 wounded. Putin noted that some tens of thousands of Russian troops had been deployed on the border with the Ukraine, and he has stated repeatedly that he would be willing to send them into the Ukraine to protect the local ethnic population. Today there are discussions going on in Geneva between the EU, the Americans, the Russians, and the Ukrainians. Putin indicated that he hopes that a diplomatic solution can be found. The UK insurer Royal Sun Alliance has announced that it's selling several of its Baltic and Polish businesses to the Polish insurer PZU in a series of 4 separate transactions that are going to pull in nearly $500 million US. Stephen Hester, the former Royal Bank of Scotland boss, who is now running Royal Sun Alliance, said that this will demonstrate the strong underlying value that exists within Royal Sun Alliance and also go a long way toward completing our target of at least £300 million of disposable proceeds set for 2014. Platinum Underwriters down in Bermuda has seen its net profit dip in the first quarter. Compared with the same quarter last year. They dropped from $86.5 million down to $63 million. Its CEO, Michael Price, said that the company looks to be in very good shape despite the downward pressure on reinsurance rates. He said, absent major events in the insurance or capital markets, we expect continued downward pressure on overall reinsurance rate adequacy. 6 major catastrophe events in the United States have generated $2.2 billion in insured losses during the first quarter of this year. This is according to the insurance statistics agency Property Claim Service. 5 of the events were winter storms, including January's polar vortex. Georgia took the biggest hit with insured losses of about $318 million, followed by New York and Pennsylvania, which saw losses of $296 million and $219 million respectively. This year has seen the quietest first quarter since 2011, despite the $2.2 billion in claims. DuPont Corporation down in Wilmington, Delaware, which also, in addition to everything else they make, also makes seeds, saw their revenue fall in the first quarter by about 2.7%. They reported lower than expected earnings. after North American farmers delayed preparations for planting because of severe winter weather. An analyst said it was 20 degrees yesterday in Minneapolis. You can't plant corn when it's 20 degrees. The analyst went on to say you're going to see a rebound in sales in the second quarter once the weather improves. Iran state TV says that a magnitude 5.3 earthquake has jolted a sparsely populated district in the southern part of the country. The quake struck about 60 miles northwest of a town called Shanbeh, S-H-O-N-B-E-H. Iran sits on a series of seismic fault lines and averages about one slight earthquake a day. Well, we're coming up now to about 6 weeks tomorrow from the loss of the Malaysia 777, and there's been absolutely no sign of it whatsoever. The oil slick that was supposedly found floating on the Indian Ocean has been analyzed and did not come from the airplane. The robotic submarine that has been trolling around the bottom of the ocean deployed by the U.S. Navy has not come up with anything yet. The pings have apparently all died. The acoustical emissions that have been going on coming from the so-called black boxes apparently have seen their batteries run out, so as a result there's no more noise. There's even speculation now from acoustical engineers that those pings may in fact have been naturally created and not coming from the boxes themselves. And meanwhile, the Chinese relatives of most of the people on the flight remain up in arms, shouting at high-level Malaysian government and airline officials yesterday in Kuala Lumpur, "You're all bloody liars and you're lying to us again. You have absolutely no shame." It may be that this plane will never be found. The area of the search is simply too broad, and the weather is too bad, and the water is too deep. If this happens, it will not be unprecedented, but it will certainly be highly unusual in this age with the sophistication of the airplanes. That's the news for today. If we have any breaking news, we'll come back and tell you. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you tomorrow.